Hello, Divine Being. Now I feel inspired to transmit fresh messages from my heart, which is connected to all hearts. And I just want to first of all remind us that true unity cannot be forced. And it can only be realized when everyone is allowed to follow its own intuitive guidance of the heart and learn more about its own unique role in this game of this world and the universe. So each individual has its own unique character and role to play. And when we do not push each other towards just one way that we think is correct, and we allow the harmony in diversity, only then we can come to the true global peace, harmony, love. And yes, whenever we want to somehow convince others to think like we do, to act like we choose, we are going against our true nature. And that's one of the main causes that causes all conflicts and wars. And we see great and at the same time terrible examples of that in the global conflicts, in those wars where people die every day. But it is more important to then look at ourselves and see what shadows, those bigger archetypes of shadows, brings from within us. And then we need to first start with the inner peace. Only then we can find solutions. Only then we can find our harmonious heart path, which leads to bigger collective harmony and peace. And for that inner peace, to establish that living in the peaceful state unconditionally, we need to also practice to let go what we are afraid to lose. That's very, very crucial. And I am not saying this letting go lightly. It is not the same as it doesn't matter, so whatever. No, it is holding both deep appreciation and love for our lives, for our beloved family and friends and activities and so on. But at the same time, we are giving it freedom and space to change, because everything changes. But the essence of that love lives through all the changes. It only changes forms, but our true essence just continues through that flow of change. So I invite you to bring together both your strongest attachments and energy of surrendering them and letting them go. And let those polarities blend in alchemical union in your sacred heart. And feel this third quality that arises from this union. And that is this love, this living, breathing love in freedom, in appreciation in the change, appreciation which is most deeply felt in the face of impermanence. Because if we just focusing on the attachments and trying to maintain them, however much we love them, it brings tension into that equation, and then that love also suffers, because then we are bringing fear into that love, fear of losing that connection. And then we start to think into the future, creating strategies to protect that. And that ironically brings us out of that living moment of appreciation and loving care. That's why we need to realize that it meant to change. The form of that is meant to change, and in that there is all the beauty. But again, our essential loving connection is never cut off. It survives all the deaths, all the transformations, all the seasons of life. So focus on that essence, and celebrate it in all its changeful forms, in this living, flowing present. When you are not jamming your head with the strategies for the future and thinking, what if that happens, and what will you do, and how to then again convince others to join your side, to feel more stronger in your beliefs about something that is happening in the world and so on. But instead, just allow that clarity of the most harmonious path and how you can most lovingly care for what you love in this space of freedom. In this living present. In this inner peace, through which all the clarity and power and divine guidance comes into all layers of your perception. and that feels easeful, blissful. That is natural way. So keep allowing yourself to relax into this natural way. Tune in into that state of natural, effortless flow. And infuse that flow with your loving care. Because how you take care the present moment, it will ripple into that flowing future. And you will experience only more of that. But if you are going to spend your energy in the present worrying about the future or about the past, then what you are generating, that only expands. And now with this modern technology, ever-evolving technology, we can clearly see that it is like a very, very flexible, adaptable mirror that only expands that on which we are focusing. And it can happen in all directions. And by realizing that, we can wake up into that realization that we are living in our own simulation of consciousness. We are experiencing those versions of Earth on which we are focusing on. But there are infinite versions all at once. So by realizing that, again, we can relax, put down all of our burdens that we hold, and just embrace our free will, our unconditional love, and live from that space, from that natural integrity of free will and unconditional love. Allowing everything to fall into places naturally. And yes, it is natural for everything without exception to fall into integration with the original source. Everything fits in the original source. So don't worry. Just enjoy and appreciate your living experience. And there is many different paths to the solutions to various challenging situations that we can experience on this game of Earth. So allow the variety. Allow everyone to follow its own heart. And those paths may seem to go into different directions, but if those paths are based on the heart, inevitably they are connected and they are all working out those same challenges that we face, just from different angles. So, for example, if one way meets the obstacle, if there is another way, if some individuals takes another direction, they might help that side that meeting those blockages, and vice versa. But if we thinking there is only one truth, one way for dealing with things, then yes, we can get stuck until we come back into that natural guidance of our heart. Yeah, it's like in the third Matrix movie, there was that war between humans and machines, and some chose to stay to protect the human world, but Neo, for example, felt another direction to take, and the wise council allowed him to take that direction at the risk of resources in that area of war. Because wise man knows that yes, it is better to have more approaches to the solution, and it worked out. So Neo flew into the machine city, and that is symbolical to the going into the heart, going into the heart of the quote-unquote problem, where it gets restarted. So whenever we also tuning into these meditations and so on, similar types of rituals, and blessing all the hearts, seeing how the purity comes out even from the most sinister and polluted hearts, then yes, we are adding our energy to that reset of the heart. So if you feel called to do that, then yes, it is your path. If you feel called to do other things, if you resonate more to, for example, a warrior archetype, then you can do something on that area. And yes, everything is integral. Everything has its own integral place. And yes, there is also important to keep our how does that word sounds, alertness. Yeah, I think alertness. But to be careful with alertness and just be cautious about it, because that alertness can easily slip into anxiety, fear, paranoia, and then it again brings those realities that we don't desire to experience. So like so-called Jesus said, be alert like a snake, but innocent as the dove. So again, keep both of those polarities in balance. Because yes, sometimes there is place and time for showing the boundaries, to standing on your ground, to protect yourself and your loved ones, to protect the innocent potential and beauty. Like if I would see on my way that someone is torturing an animal or a child, then of course I will take according actions to prevent that. But I will not go into hate, and I will not project that hate into the future. So that's the balance. Just alertness and purity. Be alert, be prepared for anything, but at the same time focus mostly on those virtues and qualities that you truly desire to experience more in your life and in your version of this world. So if you want more love, more peace, more bliss, then focus on that. And base all your actions on that. Respond to situations accordingly, but keep your inner state pure, clear. So, I feel complete now. Thank you very much for tuning in, for receiving those reminders of our shared universal heart, and much blessings, much love. Take care and see you in this eternal celebration of existence.